Welcome to LeaderCast. I'm Anthony Kovic, and today we have a special guest, Sheldon Reynolds, former lead guitarist and vocalist for legendary group Earth, Wind and Fire. And Reynolds received an Image Award for Lifetime Achievement while a member of Earth, Wind and Fire. Thank you for being on the show, Sheldon.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Now, Earth, Wind and Fire, from what I understand, has sold over 90 million records. How is it, that, this band from all these years, and I'm listening to one of the songs, which is In September, and doing some of my research last night. And this morning I woke up with the song singing in my head as I was waking up.
Right.
Tell us about how these songs were put together by the group. And, because they all have a good rhyme, they have a good soundtrack, good music to it, and people love them, especially when they're out in the parties and dancing.
Well, the one thing that was very important from Maurice White, the founder and leader of the group, we used to do music that was complicated. It was somewhat complicated sometimes, but the melodies that were sung over it were simple, and they were easy to remember. And they were done on purpose because they were trying to capture that audience that would sing it around the world. And September was the song that most exemplified that.
What you started, the group was started in 1970s by Maurice White. How did you end up connecting with Maurice and being part of the group?
I was at the time that I met him working with the Commodores. And I ended up going to a studio one day, and he was in that building at the same time. And I made a call to his sister, who I had met at their complex, their studio complex. And I made a call to her, and I said, "Look, he's in the studio. Can I get him to come out? Because I'd love to meet him." And he came out, and we met, and we started talking, and we hit it off like brothers. And it was just that was it. It was very good. A God bless meeting.
Now, do you find that, that's a very interesting meeting where it got you into a top group like that? Is that something that happens regularly in the music industry, where just being around the people in the business, you end up with opportunities in the business?
Yeah, it's no guarantee, but it definitely will help. You got to network. It's a must, because people vibe off of your vibe, not so much with your ego or your bio. They vibe off of you, and if your spirit is good, it'll sell itself.
So really doing that, connecting and being in the same places, participating in the groups, as well as going to probably each other's functions, builds that network where opportunities take place, not only being part of the bands, but also in other business aspects, especially in the music industry. It's, the closer you are to the activity, the more opportunities.
Yeah, that'd be a perfect statement.
Now, I have so much stuff, I don't know where to begin. There's so many things, that one of the things that I wanted to ask you is, which of the songs that you participated in actually writing with the group and for the group?
Well, there was a bunch of them, but the one that stood out was called Sunday Morning, and it was a song I wrote with Maurice White and Ali Willis, who also wrote September. And we wrote the song just based on it was a Sunday morning when I started the track. And I was born on a Sunday morning, so we kind of called it that, and we wrote the words around it. And
so go ahead, finish it up.
That was it. That was it.
Now, there was no specific meeting, you were just thinking about it, and the song just came about, and now it's a big, worldwide, music song.
Yeah, it just came out. The music sometimes comes as a mysterious energy that just, you hear something in your head and you don't know where it came from. It just shows up, and we call it a God moment because that's what it seems like. And that's what it felt like. It was a God moment.
Now, is that Is that the process of music when, I make notes constantly doing shows and doing productions and, authoring books. I'm constantly writing even just a title. I'll just write the title, even though I know nothing about what I'm going to write. If I come up with something, even a blurb, a title, or a possible outline for something, I write it down, even if I never use it. Do you do that as well as an artist?
Yeah, I do that in the sense of making tapes of melodies and bass lines and just lyric or whatever. I write it down or type it in just to keep it, so I end up adding it to something later.
And do you go back and look at your notes and say, this is good? Because in the world of music and anything else, it's not when you came up with it, it's the audience must connect with it at the time. So, the song, no matter what, it could be a great song at one point, but if you just change a slight version of the melody or a slight version of the song, it can go from zero to hero. Is that true?
Yeah, you never know. I mean, it's you can write a great song with the wrong beat, and nobody will ever hear it. Or you turn around and you change the beat, and suddenly it's forever. Everyone loves it.
Now, when did you begin the process in your life where you started to write music or be musically inclined? When did that happen for you?
I started when I was about 6 years old, and I started playing guitar, and I started playing drums at first, but then I switched to guitar because my mom was like, she bought me some drums, and she kind of regretted it because I was banging on everything. So she said, they make guitars, and she ended up getting me a guitar for my Christmas present, and I started that, and that's what changed the instrument I played on. I was on the guitar at that point.
So just changing the guitar when you were 6 years old, from going from the drums. If you kept up with the drums, we wouldn't be talking about it today, right?
Well, you never know. I mean, a lot of musicians play multiple instruments, so.
That's true, but it all depends on the trajectory of that particular moment. The guitar became the trajectory where you had a different outlook in how you projected your presence in the music business, compared to a drummer might be a different trajectory.
Yeah, that's true.
So where were you? Where were you born? Where are you from originally?
I come from Cincinnati, Ohio. Land of the Bengals.
Real nice. And now, for the Earth, Wind and Fire, did you start off as the guitarist, or is it did you play different instruments, or did vocals? How did you mix up your time with Earth, Wind and Fire?
Yeah, I started with guitar and vocal when I came into the group.
Now, the group has sometimes 5, 6, 7, 10 people. Tell us about the variety of people in the group, and how did that change based on where you were performing?
Well, it was always about 12 of us. I mean, there was a big band and a horn section and everything.
And was it always set up that way, or is it just became more like?
I believe in the beginning, before I came in there was 9, and there was always 9, and it then became more once we got to where they could afford to take that many on the road. They made it 12.
Now, do you think that the energy of 12 people on a stage, did that create the kind of energy that people in the audience were looking for when it comes to kind of like a big band with lots of people compared to 3 people in a band?
I think the music actually triggered that. I mean, there was a lot of people, but it was that the music itself made you want to move and made you want to be exciting, and having 12 people out there doing that same thing was overwhelming.
Now, tell us a little bit about Maurice White, when it comes to, like working with him as far as the band itself. Like, what was it like being with someone with the talent that he had to put together this band and turn it into a worldwide phenomenon?
He was a strong and a very good visionary in the sense of that he wouldn't just tell you what to play all the time. He would actually let you be yourself, but he would bring the best out of you.
Can you just repeat that part? We were getting a little lag on the computer. So.
Oh, okay. He was a strong leader, and that meant a lot because we had a lot of guys in the group. So you had to be strong, and he was a great visionary because he always would let you be yourself. He would allow you to express what you would put into that song or that groove or whatever, and that made a big difference in what a lot of groups would normally do. Because a lot of times people try to tell you what to play and control everything and do only what they believe in, and he kind of lets you be yourself, and that helped a lot.
Do you think that's what made the group special and why it became a worldwide entity?
I think that made a difference because all the guys got to be themselves, and they were their personality came out into the music.
And now, is there any venue or any song or any place that you guys had done that is like extra special in your perspective of what became, let's say, a pivotal point in something in the band or in the group or for you as part of the band?
There was a moment for me personally. There were two moments. One was in Paris at a place called Bercy. And it was the big arena in Paris, and we played there, and the crowd was so crazy. When we went on stage, we had to leave the stage and run off like the Beatles. I mean, it was like a Jackson 5 Beatles moment, and we had to get the crowd back into the auditorium where they were sitting because we had to go all the way to the dressing room and lock the doors. I mean, it was crazy. And but the concert was so energetic. They were singing along with us, and it was just really special. We did 2 nights there, and it was both nights were the same. They were crazy, and that was for us new guys. That was our first tour, and that was the first time we had experienced that kind of excitement. Then there was a moment in Tokyo at the Tokyo Dome, which is the big baseball stadium in Tokyo. And it was the same year, I think, or maybe the following year, and we did That's the Way of the World, and right in the middle of the song is a guitar solo, and the guitar player that was playing with us, there was 2 of us that played on that tour, but the guitar player that played with us, his guitar suddenly went out right before the solo, which he was supposed to take, and what happened was I ended up taking the solo, and to cover it. And that moment it was filmed and everything, and it became a moment that I still celebrate today because it was a moment where I played the solo and I played it with a lot of spirit, and it just came off, a lot of love,
So when you played the songs, the ones, whether you wrote them or played the songs, tell us a little bit about the energy. You just mentioned you played it with love. What does that mean to the normal person out there when you get into the rhythm of the track, the performance, the tens of thousands of people in front of you on stage? Give us what that feels like. If in normal words, obviously it's going to be tough, but what does that feel like in your words of what it's like to be up there?
It's like seeing your child for the first time, or seeing my wife for the first time. You have a tendency to it takes you to another place. You don't know how to explain it, but it's a place that only they have, and only they captivate in your spirit. And when you're sending that out to an audience, the more honest you are about what you're saying and playing and expressing, the more they're going to respond. Because they feel you more than they hear you and see you. They feel what they're doing, and it takes a lot of bravery to go up there and let your emotions show before a lot of people, because you can blow it and they boo, or they leave, or they throw bananas at you.
whether you're the vocalist or, you're playing your guitar, do you feel like you're pushing out an energy to the crowd that's there, and they are absorbing this energy from whatever the song you're singing, whether it's just you, the entire group simultaneously? Is that kind of like
Yeah, the main thing I used to hear from the great people who are leaders in our industry, like the Stevie Wonders, the Berry Gordy's, the Maurice Whites, the Michael Jackson, was to make them believe it. Whatever you do, make them believe it. And if you're singing about something sad, look sad. I mean, if you're singing about something happy, don't look sad, look happy. And become what your moment is at that moment, become that, and stay in character all the time. I mean, sometimes you're up there on stage and you might have had a bad day, you may have had an illness or argument with your better half, something might have went wrong. But when you hit that stage and those people that are out there and who paid to see you, and they paid to feel good for 2 hours, I mean, they're there for, to get away from their own personal challenges. And when you come out there, it's your responsibility to give them something that is beyond where their normal life is.
Do you feel like, what is it like after? Because after all that emotion, you're on stage, you've done 10 songs, let's just say, let's say you did 10 songs. Mm-hmm. Do you feel still energized after it's over, or is it that the band is wiped out as far as energy-wise and emotionally because of what it took to actually perform?
You got both. You're somewhat tired, but your energy and your emotions are so open that you have a tendency to have to go somewhere and cool out. And a lot of times we were on the one-stop shop, we call it, tours, where we would play a gig and get back on the tour bus and keep going to the next city. And a lot of times we would literally get off the gig and head to the bus and get on the bus, and we would be listening to some real mellow music, in the bus while we're riding, and that would calm us down so we can go to sleep. Otherwise, you're too restless.
Now, how often did you guys practice? Let's say, I mean, once you're on tour and stuff like that, but do you still practice each song on a regular basis to keep it sharp, or what does the song change? Because a lot of the artists that I watch over the years, when I see their live performance, it's always much better and different than the original song. Did you guys implement that kind of strategy as well?
That's what they were known for. They were known for that. They were the improv kings, as I called them. It was always something new would happen within the show that would just come out of that mysterious energy that came into play. It would happen a lot.
Yeah, because I enjoyed that part. Whenever I produce a conference and I put music out, I always use the live productions of whatever that song was, because you have the audience, you have the clapping, you have the cheering, everything is part of it, and it's always far more entertaining. Even just the audio part of the soundtrack in a conference setting, people feel the energy of the live event compared to the recorded, spliced up tracks of a studio.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Now, what was your first performance that you've actually worked on that was at the level of professionalism? Not, the small bands and you work. When was the first time you felt that this is me as an artist doing music?
Oh, there's so many moments like that I would have a hard time pinning one, but the first international tour I ever did was with a group called Sun, and they were on Capitol Records. They had a few records out that did okay, and they were sort of a combination of the Commodores and Earth, Wind & Fire, And the moment that made it surreal is that when we landed in Rio, Brazil, was where we went. We got off the plane and we were coming out of the baggage area into the main part of the airport, and all these people were standing around and they started screaming, and we thought they were screaming at us. And we were thinking, oh man, we're stars, we're big time. And it turned out that not too far from where we were walking out, there was a bunch of cases, like equipment cases coming around, and on the cases it said Earth, Wind, and Fire. So they were actually coming to the same city that we were coming to, but they were playing at their big concert, and we were playing at a small, what we thought was a big concert. But the people were screaming at them, and they weren't coming, but their equipment was coming through.
So they were cheering for their equipment while you guys were walking by.
And they thought that we were them. But nice. It was funny. And then when we got to the concert that we were doing, we were playing in the sound check. We were playing one of our songs, and suddenly we started hearing, and we were like, "What is that?" And they said, "That's the soccer stadium next door. There's a concert going on, and it's Queen. They're playing 'We Will Rock You.'"
Oh, nice.
So we thought we were stars, but we were nothing compared to these guys at that time.
But they were cheering because now, after a while, you ended up becoming part of the Earth, Wind, and Fire. So
right.
Technically, they were preempting the cheering for you when you actually showed up as part of the group.
Right, exactly.
They knew something you didn't know, and in the future.
They were on it.
They were on it. But is that, you consider that one of the funny stories that took place, or are there any other good funny stories that are part of your band travels and stuff like that? What actually happens? Do you guys just sit like a boardroom, after the band is sitting there, you guys boardroom type stuff, or do you really get into having fun?
We get into, there's a little bit of everything, because you got 12 people, there's 12 different personalities, and there's a tendency to do different things with different people.
Did Maurice had to crack the whip a lot, or is it just, everybody cooperated?
No, it was, he did that years before we came, but he was more mellow when I came into the group. He said, they always used to tell me, he said, you lucked out. He said, you came in when I was mellow.
Oh, nice. So he used to crack the whip a lot more often.
Yeah, because he had guys who were, were tough guys, and you couldn't be soft with them.
You were part of the SETI project?
Yeah, I'm a fan and a member of SETI, and that's the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, and it's basically the search for hopefully finding our neighbors in space, and they do things that are fascinating. They're just fascinating to me. They're listening for sounds that would be radio waves that come in, and they're of what they call a narrow band frequency, that would be something that was sent by somebody, an intelligence. And I've been a fan of that for many years. And it started when I was a kid, but I ended up seeing a movie by Jodie Foster called Contact, and that really got me into that whole thing. And I visited the Arecibo radio scope where they filmed some of that movie, and that scope is about the size of a baseball stadium, so it's unbelievable.
Now, did you get, were you able to, when you were at the scope, did you hear any soundtracks coming in from faraway lands or faraway planets, where
no,
your counterparts were doing some skits and you were listening to?
Yeah, that would have been newsmaking for sure.
Did you get any inspirations from any of the sound effects that came in from the universes around our solar system that had become anything that you put into a soundtrack? Anything like that took place for you?
I've got it in some of my music that I've written. That I've got, certain effects from guitars and stuff that I did. It was imitate Jimi Hendrix or something like that, or some of the great guitar players who experimented with the sound effects and things like that. And I tended to like to create stuff that would be, unique, and sort of make the eyebrows go up, as they say.
Nice. Now, you mentioned Jimi Hendrix. In 1983, you joined his Experience Hendrix company. Tell us about that.
Yeah, at the time, I was married to Jimmy's sister, Janie, and I ended up playing a role in producing a tribute album to Jimmy called Power of Soul. And it had a lot of great artists on there, from Santana to Earth, Wind & Fire to Prince to Eric Clapton. I mean, it had a whole host of great legends on there. And that was an honor of a lifetime to do that project with Bootsy Collins and, people like that on there as well. And Lenny Kravitz. It was something else.
Now, did you spend any time with Jimmy himself?
No, I never. He had passed before I came into the picture.
Okay, so you missed out on that, but you participated in the tribute of. Did you? So, do you know what year he passed away?
1970, I think, or 69 or 70. I think it was 70.
Oh, okay. That was definitely 83 is definitely quite a distance. I was just curious if you had a chance to actually participate with him directly.
No, I didn't get the honor for that.
Now, you mentioned Santana. Did you spend any time working or collaborating with Santana in any of his stuff? Because he's done a lot of stuff, and I think his music travels to different people. Were you able to work with him in any way in the business?
No, not really. But we did do some tribute concerts for Jimmy that he showed up and played with us. And that was a lot of fun. I mean, he's a great guy and great spirit.
And so Lenny Kravitz, these are part of the song. These are part of the tribute where you had a chance to meet these, some of these superstars like George Clinton and others. Did you work with any of these people directly in collaboration for any stuff that you've worked with?
Just that that project that was like Lenny was on that same project. That was the one time we worked together, but I didn't know him already. And there's a lot. We have a tribute album that was called Devoted Spirits. That was me, Larry Dunn, the original keyboard player for Earth, Wind & Fire, and Morris Pleasure, who played keyboards with Earth, Wind & Fire. And we did a tribute to Earth, Wind & Fire called Devoted Spirits. And on that project, we had a lot of friends come on, and there was Gerald Albright, the sax player. We had Ronnie Laws, the original sax player with Earth, Wind & Fire. Larry Dunn was with us on that, and we had a lot of fun with a lot of musicians that came and played on there.
Tell us about the Taste of Honey, because that's something you worked with. That group. What did you do as far as working with the Taste of Honey?
I played guitar on a TV show that they were on. It was an oldies but goodies kind of retro show, and I ended up playing guitar for them and Bonnie Pointer of the Pointer Sisters. Now
you've also did some music work for the TV show Who's the Boss? Take us through that.
Oh, we were as a group. We were guests on the show,
and now when they stage those TV shows, because they're staged, tell us about what it was like to actually be on a show where the television network is having you guys be the performance for this show, because it's all staged. It's not like you're doing a concert. What's that like compared to doing a concert?
Well, let me correct myself, because there was that show, the Who's the Boss segment that I was on, was the actual. I did a rendition of Up on the Roof, which was a classic old song, and I sang that, and that was really kind of cool, because it was a moment where I wasn't seen, I was just heard, but I was in a moment where the star of the show was playing a radio in his car, and that song came on, and it was just me singing, and that was I had to pinch myself, and I never would have dreamt of doing that.
And you also did some. You also appeared on the show Sunny in Philly with Danny DeVito. Did you get a chance to act with him, or what was that role like?
It was a moment where I had put together a jazz band that was playing in a scene that he was in, that he was in with us, and we did like a club gig, but it was a lot of fun, because they were funny. Oh my God, they were funny.
Now you've also done something where you did some kind of a short video called Images of Life Asking the Questions.
Mm-hmm.
What's that about?
That was part of the SETI, mindset.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was like, contemplating the ideas of meeting neighbors in space and all that stuff, and hopefully finding that we're not alone.
Do you think from the music perspective, if there was life and we actually connected with life from other universes or other planets, what do you think the song would be? We Are the Universe?
Yeah, I mean, that would be a good idea. I would say that I don't know what the title would be, but it would be good to have multiple people multiple people from Earth play on it, so that we would have the influence of all of our cultures.
And so, as far as what would be your greatest memory of all the music, of all the people you've met, and it could be more than one, but what do you think would be like a pivotal moment that has, trajectory, created a trajectory that created what is now, your life, your vision, or something in that realm? Is there something that you can pinpoint to that made your life happen the way it happened?
Well, I would answer that by saying the most touching moment that I've had in my life, as far as my music career, happened when I was walking out of a hotel one day, going to the gig, and a young kid ran up to me and said, "I know who you are." And I kind of looked at him, and I was like, "How do you know who I am?" And he said, "Your name is Sheldon Reynolds, and you play guitar with Earth, Wind & Fire." And I said, "How do you know that?" He said, "My first concert that my mother ever took me to was an Earth, Wind & Fire concert, and you were playing guitar, and I now play guitar because of you." And I was in tears. I was ready to boo-hoo.
So things like that, does that happen to you and other people on a regular basis? And does that really give you the energy to to move forward and to do more?
Yeah, I think it does, because it's bigger than it's bigger than and playing for big money and all the ego stuff. It's something where your life has touched someone in a way that is eternal, and it may have changed their life. And because I could have been a bank robber, and and this kid could have said he loved watching bank robbers, and he went to, he could have gone another way. But because it was something that was positive, it made his life what it is, and hopefully he's somebody famous at some point.
Now, when it comes to the music industry, we know how difficult it is to crack the code to get into a gig. Bands all over the world are trying to become part of the scene. Is there any advice you can give a new talent that's growing up, just like when you were 6 years old, you got that guitar, right? You got your drums or the guitar, and you started playing. what was the trajectory that got you to where you are now, a successful, musician, vocalist, everything that is part of being part of these groups? What is something that new people should try to do and look at as part of the success process?
Well, my first thing I would say is that what you do in whether it's guitar or any type of musical instrument or act or even become a politician, to do what you do because you love it and show that in honest, expression that you love what you're doing. Because what happens is you have good years and bad years where you ride a roller coaster ride of fame and fortune and broke and fame and fortune and broke, and you can always make more money, but you can't do it if you're not doing it from a love perspective when you perform it, because people buy your emotions. They don't buy the image. They buy what looks real to them, and they follow that. And if you give them your true heart, they'll give it back, and they'll send it back to you, and you'll find that your career is life lasting.
So that is there anything on the emotional side to be as authentic as possible, to be the true person, writing, singing, doing all that? Now, let's say they've already done that part. What are some of the things that they can do as, the real world of how to get gigs, from getting gigs to connecting with other artists? Is there ways to meet other artists? Just like, once you're already an existing artist, you become part of this band or that band. Is working with multiple bands and moving from one band or working with other artists, does that help propel your career?
Yeah, it makes you stronger because you have the experience of playing with different people, and all the influences help to make you a stronger, artist in the long run. So yeah, I mean, it definitely work with as many people as you can. I mean, that's the bottom line. I work with so many people now that I have been blessed to work with that I many times don't remember the gig itself. I just remember that I met them and worked with them.
So it's the people. It's not always the performance of an event at such and such a stadium. It's the people of these bands, whether it's a TV show, whether it's the connections with all of these people that combine, and that becomes your resume in the music industry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
And now, from my understanding, is that you also have Parkinson's, the disease. Is that how is that affecting your ability to work? Is it doing any of that?
Well, it definitely affects I can work, but it definitely affects your equilibrium and stuff like that, because it's a tendency to make you have a tendency to have bad balance and stuff like that. And it more or less, how do I say, interrupts your normal activities, because you tend to want to, you're telling your body to do one thing and it's doing another, and that sometimes can get. So I tend to find myself I don't complain, because I've been able to do so much stuff in life that I look at it like if this is all that I have to deal with, then I thank God for what I've done, what I have done, and I keep walking. Because I mean, Maurice White dealt with it, and Muhammad Ali dealt with it, and Michael J. Fox. There's a lot of people who have fought with it, and you can live a basically normal life, but you still have the tendency to have the tremors and the shakes and stuff like that. And but I tell people to appreciate what you have, and what you've experienced, and celebrate what even the troubles. Celebrate that too.
Now, you're part of the Coach the World network and providing direct coaching directly with people.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about why did you choose to participate in connecting with people in this particular platform? Just like we're recording this platform right now, everything is being done on the actual Coach the World platform. So,
right.
What are the things that people ask, or what do you want to project to those that should connect with you if they want to learn what?
My thing is, I like to inspire. I was influenced by people who inspire the world. That could have been from Martin Luther King to Stevie Wonder to Aretha Franklin, my first concert, and Jackson 5, or Sting. There's a lot of people, that were leaders in the sense that they inspired you to want to be bigger than what you're expected to be. And I tend to want to do that because I've been blessed to have it done to me. So I look forward to trying to be just a motivation, not just from the word of it, but a motivational person that helps people believe what they can, what people tell them they can't do. If they say you can't, that's why I try twice as hard. I come from Cincinnati where people were expected to go get a job at the regular factory and make a regular life, and that was fine if that's all you wanted to do. But if you had dreams of doing anything beyond that, they told you couldn't do it because you're in Cincinnati. And so I said, okay, well, maybe I need to leave Cincinnati and try to do it somewhere else. And that's what I did. And I came to Los Angeles, and I networked my little tapes and stuff, and got on the buses and trains and everything else I could to find my way around. And it led to what the results are, which I'm proud to say I've been able to do things that weren't expected that I could ever achieve. And that's because they told me I couldn't do it. If they had told me I could, I probably wouldn't have done it.
Yeah. So inspiring people, spending time with you directly on a one-on-one coaching session on Coach the World is a way for you to help give back, inspire people, give them the kind of advice they may need based on the questions they have, and create an inspirational platform for you to be inspirational to them.
Yes.
Now, is there anything that, what are some of the challenges you face in the early days of, being a performer?
The big one is always you're playing the gig and you get finished with the gig and you come off to get paid and the guy's gone.
So get your money up front, in other words.
Yeah, get your money up front. That's the big one. And there's a lot of stories about that.
Yeah, so the early days you toured locally, I guess, with whatever group you were doing, and the hardest part is dealing with the venues actually paying the band what was agreed upon. Is that correct? Yeah,
that's the biggest problem. And nowadays they make it so you got to pay to play. I mean, they turned it all around. They just make us pay to play.
Yeah, because you're right. I am seeing that where if you want to be on some of the big venues or a venue that could create a career, the venues are now charging the bands to actually play at their location because they feel it has more value for the band to be there than for you to be performing for the people at their venue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy. He flipped it.
Yeah. Do you think that's a positive thing? If you needed to, let's say you were undiscovered at this point, do you think it's worth the band investing in being at a venue where they could be discovered?
In most cases, I would say no, but you have to play that by ear because some places are like there are famous places that have been historically, been in existence for many years, and you tend to want to you may want to play. You may want to pay to play there because you will get some mileage out of it.
Like if you were going to be on some national TV show to play as part of their concert series, maybe that would be a good thing. But if you were playing at the local bowling alley, maybe that's not a pay to play.
No, I mean, you can with all this internet stuff we got now, we can get a green screen and make it play wherever we want to play.
That is true. Tell us about, are you doing anything in the virtual space? Obviously, we are now. We're doing this. But in the performance side, have you done anything in your performances that is strictly virtual?
Well, we're definitely planning. We're actually working on some things that we're trying to put together now that I'll be more clear to talk about once we get them, locked in and loaded. So, but we definitely are working in that sense of trying to make the pandemic become a positive thing and not just this negative, afraid to go outside and afraid to breathe and anything else.
That is true. Are you going to put the link to when you do have something that's happening on your Coach the World so this way everyone can see it?
Oh, yeah, I will definitely do that.
Well, awesome. I didn't want to bother you with the link. You probably don't have it established at this point. Do you have a website that is specific to just you, or is it part of, let's say, a group website?
Well, I have my Facebook, and my son handles my Twitter tweets.
Oh, very nice.
I'm not too much like that.
So the best way to get a hold of you on this platform is through the Coach the World, and to log on there, and they can see more about your profile. And if they go to coachtheworld.com, just look up Sheldon Reynolds, and there they could find everything about you and actually connect and schedule a one-on-one, face-to-face, just like we are here, conversation.
That's it. I'm just a down-home guy. You just say hello, and I say hello back.
Very nice. Is there anything that that you would like to tell us, the audience who is watching? Anything specific that I forgot to go over? Because I'm going through my notes, and I did check a few things, but I have not checked some, and I might have missed something that might be very important.
My thing is to say to the world, we're going through some tough times, and we've got some crazy people that are sometimes running the world. But don't be discouraged, because everything has a place and a time and a cycle of life. There's good moments. There's in life and music and all of all the other things we deal with in life. They all go in a circle, and sometimes the circle is a winter, and sometimes it's a summer, sometimes it's autumn and fall and spring. But we're always going to eventually spin out of it and get back to being what we came from. And
sorry,
no, I just needed to say that. That's all.
Now, for those that, let's say, don't have any musical skills, like you had a guitar skill that you developed and with practice, there are people that don't have that skill. What do you say to those that have the skill of writing songs? How can they get into connecting with people such as yourself that are part of a band or a group that may be looking for songs? Is there a process?
There's no one way. There's being creative in your networking. I mean, you present yourself professionally, and try to be at the places where you think the people that you need to meet are going to be at. And with this whole, computer world that we're in now, it seems easier to me because it's like you don't have to go anywhere. It's not like we have to go to the library and check out a book and try to read it and find out stuff. We can do it on Google or just look up information right away. And you can find out who's the person that handles songwriters in a way that is a proven positive record, You can find people all over. You can find people so easily on the internet.
So finding, let's say you're a songwriter and you have a library of songs and you think a specific artist, let's say Earth, Wind and Fire, and you think that this song would fit Earth, Wind and Fire, their personality, their stage presence, all that stuff. Would it be appropriate for someone to say, hey, I am a fan, I love your music, and try to connect with them and say, I have a song, is it something that you would want to participate in singing my song and making me part of the group as the writer?
Right. Well, I don't know about making you part of the group as a writer, but...
Or buying the song, or selling the song, whatever it is, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you can definitely find them and make a pitch for that. And that would be so because nowadays you can send them the whole song, or you can send them snippets, and you can do all kinds of stuff that protects you, but at the same time gets you out there.
So should the songwriter copyright the lyrics, the actual song? You may not have a soundtrack to it, but the words of the song can be written and then sent to be copyrighted, so this way the song is protected. Is that something that they should do first?
Well, I think the copyright, you need the whole thing. You need the music and the lyrics together. But you definitely want to do that. You know, if you're working with people, if you're working with somebody that you know and that you have a relationship with, you don't have to worry about the copyright thing so much at the beginning. But in the long run, you want it done anyway, because you want to make sure. Because once you get to networking and people start hearing it, you don't want anybody to snatch it.
Well, that is awesome. Well, Sheldon, is there anything else that I may have missed that you want to close it off with?
No, I just thank Coach the World, and I appreciate the efforts you have to making a better world, a better place, and getting us all together in a way that we need to be working together and sharing, you know, our spirits. And I thank God for having had the opportunity to do a lot and share a lot. And hopefully it'll I'm hoping that it'll be a life well lived, and someone will be inspired to do something good and do better. I tell my son all the time, I said, he'll say, I want to be like you, Dad. And I'm like, no, you want to be better.
Well, there you have it, folks. Thank you again, Sheldon Reynolds, being a guest here on the Tampa Post for Coach the World on LeaderCast. And I'm Anthony Kovic, and that's the end of this episode with Sheldon Reynolds.
Thank you. Domo arigato.
Oh, my arigato. Okay, I'm going to just hit stop.